Okay. Well, let me just say a couple of words. I'm Jonathan Silk, professor in the study of Buddhism in Leiden University, and we're very happy to have this opportunity today to welcome a visitor who will be introduced in just a moment. And now I introduce Dr. Bert Janssen, and there you go.
Okay. So my name is Bert Janssen, and to me, the honor of introducing Soda Ji. So we are very honored here today to have the Tibetan Buddhist teacher and translator, interpreter, Khenpo Soda Ji. And he is one of the main teachers and also administrators at Lodungar at SETA, which is the largest and perhaps most influential contemporary center of Tibetan Buddhist learning on the Tibetan Plateau. And he has been a pivotal figure in bringing Tibetan Buddhism to Han Chinese audiences in mainland China and also beyond. And this has been, he's been working tirelessly over the last 2 decades. He's also a prolific author, you could say, a bestseller of books on Tibetan Buddhism in Chinese, and he has an extensive network of Chinese students and devotees, and he is also very involved in philanthropical enterprises and spends a lot of energy on Buddhist outreach, especially among young people in Tibet and China. So that's sort of the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, the attraction of Tibetan Buddhism to young and urban educated people in China and beyond. Today is more of a question and answer session, things you always wanted to ask, never got the chance to, and I will try to interpret this and translate it as well as my possibilities. I'll try. Thank you. So who wants to open up with the first question?
I can do that if
yes.
others don't want to. Well, I would like to ask a question about the context, which is that Khenpo is lecturing in, as we can see from your own website, for example, at a great many universities throughout the world. And I wonder if you would tell us why you think it's so important to present yourself in university settings.
Yes. 네. 시동 파츠 니동 그 야만네더니 당어서 야노 그 더니 소장가레닝아 더니 추추드나 까차려 추추는 말에 된다는데 소장가레네 더니 단시들 권한자가 더니 그런서 쇼자도 더니 네서나 같이 원천 로총도 소이나 배 건강이나 산로 더니 지 산르제 출루제 강이나 배 여보요래 된디 지 치스 데라 지킨 간데 난죽송이 나땡아 소자 간데 단지 신게요나 안 롤레 연스닝이 더니 추추 마르샤티데 더니 가는 거 랍송 따지마다리 소자 가사간에나 쇼zen케요나 nga kalestagme tene ngandrose tene jimante ta janok so yene na parchir ngetena ta janok na janchin parchir sumchi so jiso nre ta ngandro ma to zema nga tsoma sopra chimbo somala tene korong so shogze tene shogze dikkan tariang chi chuchung omanda shage omarda yena ya jikten kacha da ngarang samsana 다 된다는 그 시작해요. 대마스터 때문에 야지 김선 지금 무이리요 받다 되다. 자 말에 그런서 쇼제디더니 인로요. 더니 토론 로자 마인 바거더니 엄마랑 로자 다는 장름 로자는다. 다 대마인 바거는 지금 종강단 로자 총 디모서 쇼제나요. 로요. 이나요 지금 토론 로자든 로시도 지금 망사선들 생겨요.
So I started doing this coming to schools and universities in China, starting in 2009. And when I go to these places, universities and schools, it's not so much teaching the Dharma as such, but it's more, talks and discussion. And I was initially invited to Chinese universities and schools, and I found that especially in discussing issues with the youth, be it about science or about religion, I thought them to be very bright, and it seemed very interesting. And I basically, from then on, I started being invited more and more to places around China, and I just thought, well, if I am invited, I will go there. And this sort of grew from, being mainly in China initially to also outside of China. So basically I go to places where I get invited. These are not necessarily universities. They can be universities or middle schools or primary schools. And I also go, if I'm invited, I even go to prisons to teach. And it's often not necessarily speaking about Buddhism, but more about my thoughts on certain subjects or discussions or ideas that I may have. So it's basically, it's not that I have a specific aim in coming to universities alone, but I will just go when I am invited to these places.
Question. Should I ask in English or in English?
Whatever you like. Maybe in English, because then everyone can understand.
All right. How do people in China react to your teachings there, and also in relation to political issues?
nga ande nga so ngama den kamban jume punso konyen na tene so chuluk so ma to jemen tene kongo chapchuta 된다 진저게 요 말에 nga so larong gar ko tene janak ko lo ma mombo zu ta ina tene ta chutusha sa mombo yore da ina tela 주 다양 주 chapter 담제랑 가서 양 로랑 되게 카쇼다는 로랑 되게 되네 어머일 된다 차요 말에 된디 배낭아 있나 실던 그 산지 출루 다 산지 출루도 있나 다리 지금 때라 지금 머르다는 chapter다는 되네 야급 중람자세요 말에 대 슬라이나야 그런 송그 모토신의 판선 그 조랑시나양 된저거요 대인디 되네 주 당가랑수 추추샤네 있나 자가 대마임바가 되네 소자잠바 손존에 있나요 그 차트단 정지라 그런 순간에 있나요 차트단 저라 요산이나 나대양 다리가 지 차트지기도 다양 쇼라로 소소가 모일 몸보도 오늘에 된디야 지금 스탑 데모문도 된디 소도 추장화를 고고는 되네 그 조랑 시기다는 추추샤지 다 때문에 이렇게 되네 지금 가사강나 손에 있나요 지금 다음 무일 된다 요사이나요 지금 쇼강도 냈다데 보면 맹거 된디 야나가 추추샤지나 대담 저런 조금에
So just like Kempo Jinpinto, when he was teaching, he taught Buddhism and steered away from issues of politics. And we do now find that at Laronggar there's many Chinese who are receiving teachings, who are interested in Buddhism, and I happily teach them, but I don't have any aim of influencing them in any political way. And that's also generally the message of Buddhism, that when you teach Buddhism, it's not about ethnicity or nationalism or political issues. It's more having a discussion about religious topics, things that are interesting for us. So also when I'm invited to universities, whether I teach Dharma or when I go to universities or schools to teach, then I try to stay away from the political discussion, just because it's not fitting. It's something that's not my aim. Yes.
Often people hear people talking about influence of Hinduism in Tibetan Buddhism. Even certain God and goddesses have been incorporated in Tibetan Buddhism. How do you explain influence of Hinduism in Tibetan Buddhism?
Tandi Jagarna Ngamaga Honda Chulu Yore. Shana Honda Chulu Lord Jingare Latayoni na Matsu Sanji Chulu Danikana Tani, Honda Chulu Ian Rao, Tani Pachurlo Samsung Yarmark Lord Gio Saya Momboyore. Shana Jagar Chuluk de la Chuluk Mombosia, de la Tramze Chulu Dana Tani, the Honda Chulu Nankargayang. De la Huena Mutsu, Chirevaga Chulugnana, Teni Chulu Mombosiore. Tatinoni Pena Matsusanga Kanayoni, Teni Ta Jura, Don Jura, Division that had on Hamu, Ranjin Jiftenbaga, Nonserdan Tambanada, Tindangare, Yoyore, Teningare is in a tanson, Tangatsu. Janaka Chuni Nina Garrick Zayore, and a Beijing Norton did the Parcher, the Honda Chuluk Sra Shanji Yonsa, Yanati, Mandun Rabotin Razu, she dana Chayo Sarezi, Dana Teningari, that Janaka Tene Jimju Basso in Nangari Tindastig Yore. Yinayo, Tati Jagarga Chuluk Dana Te Coronso Namba Yondamare. Tejan the tea Nandon Tari Manjava Mombo Yore, Nekaleshayo.
So if you look at the history of Hinduism compared to Buddhism, you could say that it has a longer history, perhaps at least 3,000 years. But of course within what we call Indian religions or Hinduism, then there's also different different sections. You have Brahmanism, you have then in Indian religion you have Jainism, and so on. So it's difficult to point to one thing. But it is indeed true that if you, especially when you look at tantras, Buddhist tantras, you see, and then in the ritual or in the description of the appeasement and liberation rituals, then there's lots of descriptions of gods and goddesses who have the appearance of Indian or Hindu deities. And there's been some scholarship, the scholarship I know of Chinese scholars who say that there is at least the outer appearance of these deities have been basically imported, adopted from Indian religions. But it is one thing to talk about the appearances of these deities, and another to talk about what they actually represent, the actual meaning of these.
Tate mandrasad kare yorzena jagar ke chulung ruzina tene ta pena wanshik ba chuluyina tene korong gati ndochak te na ndochak te takar ke ta wanshik ba yora wanshik ba yora ta wanshik ba chulung ruzina tene parchewa tare ta ndochak na ndochak takar ke ramchan ba telang ngun zang ge yosare tene ngatsu tene khwerna ta sangha kono ge ladang lamo go to ge yabim zonjur ta timo yono de na shir tar de na to ge ta phomo ge na ba ge yore tene ta te nang tar de na tene ta ndo chag de gore tene sangwa tar de ne na ta te ndo chag de ta melong ta yi shi melong ta bu yi shi de ta de yore tene yang sang tar de na sem gi ngo ji me ba ta tin song ge yore 다 샘궁고 시험에 봐 샘궁고 곡사라 댄송고요 동화다 나더니 곡사라니까 종던직 봐 댄송고요 다때인데 대지 다스낭틀 거wan도 셴이나 다래 얼나 지금 야연 종절 그 하는 티모요 나라는 동음악가 다 샘궁고 시험에 봐 동화다 나더니 가바메 봐 곡사라 되니까 종던직 송고 팀 손돈 잡마도제마 되니 배나 녀몽와랑 람선다다는 녀몽와 랑가와 된다가 문성게요 말에 되니 저런데 마수 때다 상인 그 적는 거 정도 때 와서도 심직시에는 되니 다 야그르게 출리다 나페 되니 사치산에 만다서 하장 침보도 요거요래.
Now, for example, where you see the differences is when when you see, for example, something that you have in Shaivism, is the sexual union, and you have that similar imagery in Tibetan Buddhism as well. In Tantric Buddhism, you have the imagery of a couple or deity in sexual union. And then there are different levels of explaining this. So on the external level, it would seem like it is an expression of desire. But then when you look at it from a Tantric Buddhist perspective, then it is, it's not necessarily desire. So there's different levels again. On the first tantric level, then you say, well, this is a representation of wisdom that is like a mirror. When you go on an even more subtle tantric level, you say that it is a representation of the nature of the mind, which is unborn, and also the union of the nature of the mind and emptiness. So we talk about different levels here. It looks the same, but then when you go to the deepest meaning, when you say the actual meaning, then what it represents is the union of unborn nature, true nature of the mind, and wisdom and emptiness in unity.
We're here at the university, and he's also teaching at the university, and to follow classes here we need to have certain prerequisites. So I was wondering if you could say what the prerequisites there are to enter, for example, meditation 100. At the university at Tekalaringar, if they teach that, how they go about that, how they prepare the students for meditating, or if they correctly learn that as like the first thing. And then the other follow-up would be to ask him to tell us what he would tell his meditation 101 class on the first day.
Got it. Ngasum sopcha chimbona inatning ngone yang ta chakin mombudu korwa te shashok jerko inanda napchok jerko inanda parcher sibachigan rekendo tene ngatsu larung garne yang ta shina gum ja de la rumba mombus yore inaya che gum gi le tambo azer gonan raga gum go tar manje tene ta tetso ine na che chakin chimbo me janaya jure tene ngatsu larung gar tene ta zoba chimbo go gum pena 다 착취했다는 데니 토르그르세 된다 곰이요래 다 된다 곰 고는 있나 오네 지 가서 베크노는 범가 속에 있다네 베나 처음 테르다는 데니 잠로 샘킷 만들 데니 이기자 다 된다서 또 오네 범테르 갑치 담방 오네 인로고래 데니 다때 마임바게 양는 지 베나가 솔라롱 가르네니나 rangkhar ke chu gehin gening domba tariga tene sta ju changa tendra ta nyongshi ma to mombo yo mare tene te ma to changma dan tene rapt chongwa tene ane dan jaba gisir gesno yan chukne tene te domba go on de na domba go chan tombo ne zgore tene ji chu nyamling ge na lo mombo ne cha te zo tene zoching ge tene ta ju gom thoram ge te gom te la tare zo tare ch jere tene rangkhar ge ta ji chuba ge tene gom zoching ge go obser da chakchut ta tene gom thombo ina tene ta tema tho de gom chi shoryo mare.
So to enter university, there's a lot of things that you need to have, and there's lots of conditions that need to be present, and this is probably the same in the East as it is in the West. But then again, in the same way, in university you have many levels. In Lalungar you also have different types of levels of meditation, and perhaps as a beginner, beginning meditation and without high objectives, then you probably don't need so much of things. But it really depends on what you want to do. So if you aim to do certain meditation sort of practice in Dzogchen, serious practice, then you need to do the preliminary practices of 5 times 100,000 of taking refuge, bodhicitta, the 100 syllable mantra, prostrations and mandala offerings. So these then are requisite to do those type of practices, meditation. And then, of course, to stay in Lalungar as a layperson, it is helpful to take the upasaka vows, so the lay people vows, and then you have different levels. You become ordained, become a nun or a monk, and then you have vows that you keep to as well. And then, so people practice in that way. And of course, if you want to do higher types of meditations or more advanced meditations, then you need certain instructions and, as said, these preparational practices, and then that sort of prepares you for meditation.
Penanga ngama de larung ganna thonde tene thang tambo tene ta kambo jingme pansok tene dzogchen ge chut de gom de songre the gom de song de thang tang nga bonga tari bonga ya su so me de tene ti trawa thon ma song tene pe ndo sam da ina yang tari thon ma song tene yang thang ni ba de kare tene tene khol ge cheteng ge wang yo re te wang de thon ma song tene wang de nga yar kha tene yar ne de chi no song tene yar thon de wang song char song yang wang thon ma song tene thang simba de zo te gomya te wang de ko nan ra te chodo thop song re te ni na yang rang khar ke tene chi chan thom bo go ti gom te thop la mo da le la bon de yo mare tang bom bom nga me ra ni ba de wang yo bo thop ma song ra wang ma thop te yang na chma ma song re tene thang samba na nge tarim bonga to tene tar wang choma yang thopsa ti tene thang samba de chetsen hyang tuk tene de zokchen ge chre wa de gom da te tene thopso.
So for example, back in Lalungar then Jino Prince used to teach Dzogchen to people. He used to give the instructions. But the first time he did this, I had not done the preliminary practices, so I had not done these 500,000, 5 times 100,000, so I didn't get them. Then the second time he gave him, the second round he gave him, I had not done the initiation, I had not gotten the initiation. So again, I could not get it. Then the third time around, I was able to finally get these instructions and then practice on them. But that goes to show that it's not an easy process.
Tene tari che chwa nipate le tangbo wa go tene sangtung go kanre shi na parche da tene namna chuden namna zo go chuden yo ra de ne na tangbo tari kangwa tari chichong chaje kangwa tene shi ni kam nyam jap zeng je da na tene ga tsi ya di zi zhang wo zo je tene tari ke ta rang ga tari zhemba tari nden shok zo chong sarang gu je tene natse la ta je tene che kango la yara che de kango la ta je tene chaba chung zu mar lo da je ge ta na tene ta shira jap chola dis korean da tenja zoni na tene tang a su khason terang go tene swangten sama go gonstan de yenge yo re pena sutra chembo mambo zikane na so tari le nyamjari dan dan jab gom go re ta tinda ini na ta ga li chang na za chang na sem chang ta ga sem chang na tene ta narwap ta na tene de ga mo zum jong yong ze tok song go te ini na tene thomar ta ga sang tong gom ba sadang se na ya ta parchir tari namna chudeng ga ta gom go je yi ta na ta ga sem sechig da ta ga nyamran jog yo ta te zo so tu che yo re.
But then for the second part of your question, the second question is, as a beginner in meditation, then perhaps you begin with sitting the right way. And the way of sitting is 7-point meditation posture of Vairocana. And that is basically sitting in the lotus posture or sitting cross-legged with your right over your left hand, that you have your arms or your shoulders straight and a little bit apart, that you have your head a little bit bent forward, that you rest your eyes towards the tip of your nose or slightly beyond, that you have your tongue on the top of your palate, curled on the top of your palate, and at last that you are not leaning against something but you're slightly forward bending. And the idea of, so this is the type of posture that we teach to everyone who is learning how to meditate, concentration meditation. And the idea is that if your body is straight, then the wind energies are also straight. And if they are straight, then your mind, it's easier for your mind to focus. And the initial idea of this type of meditation is that you are able to focus your mind on something, one pointedly. So this is the meditation starts with this posture. So we teach this to people who begin.
We have many different socio-economic systems in the world. The question I have is very short. Do you think a socio-economic system can make you sick, or can you only make yourself sick?
Tate niga yoresan. Matina chikto ngaso masoso go rang ga lipo go na tene nan raman ra ta no dungun raman ra yong to so de ta ngaso na chulu bai na sanji ba ga ne na so ji ngama ga yang tene jiski nombo dam je yore tene tsendi korik da na shusu tene chatje ngbo parjur de zo yang je ra mambo su cha yore tene ta chikdo 다 환절기 가서 그 de tang yin nan zha ge teni na cha yin nan zha ge de so chang ma de teni zo yong re de na ju pa chi yin sa ma re yin na yang ka san de ran za mo lang ge teni so de da pe jin de ya ra za chen zo yong de teni ji rang xiong kam ge da ko ri do lo da ma zha zo teni di ton zi so chang ma de sa ra rong do xue yi da na teni chang ma de zha zi teni tanda chi jirong di teni chacha da na de jun de na da njaman zha ge teni bang sang rang xiong kam ge teni chuni da mon thom ba ge ne le mo bo zi jie ge yo re de ndi ngo ne ge da par chi ju henan de sa chen de so yin na nga da no yin na be xi bon zhen do ga re de na dan zi chen mo bo yo ge mo do wa nge zhong ji mo bo da ni da yin na ya ka mo bo sar ge le ji da na de zo be nyong de ren do de nga chu yang de da hara yalang shokone na tene sacha jerko mombo tine na ta nyama chi de nang khawa mombo le chi ta na tene nam kha yang na ta sobro zo chen sobro zo tene ji sama de so yang na mai mombo de de ko yo wa ta ten de chi rong de ngone nga song la de ge deng mer ta na mombo che ge yo re ta yin yang 다 지금 잠mol은 거 지금 롤링으로 된다 쳐요 때 갈래요 살에 체르데나 단 잠mol은도 가서 되나 있나 때 반선 로종 취에다는 된다 요래 근데 로종 취 된다 요때 다 그런서 또 총무보던 저리요라 다 총무보던 저리 요때네 다 발치 유럽 다는데네 아메리칸도 소인이나 다 사마다는데 소지 약쇼 인사래 맞수 야노 걸서만 몸보는 거네 온디더니 다 그런서 인치민신더니 내가 전에 등내 인더니 파란 로모 포더더니 그 다치도 카우기 땅만 만들더니 자마 지 어디탕 형식 자마 만들게 몸보서 같은 라군도 강스타리안 맞수 자물은 뭐 참마가 런근 코리가 런거 도시 쉐데다 런거 대탕라 런거 노자조고 진도 배 공고나 배 깔리는도 내나요 때 지금 정마다 데라레세 고나데 인사마레 저 야코 베나오스 톨리란 저지나 다 된다 네서다리 뇽뇽 인사레 유럽네 얘나야 된다 네서 뇽뇽신 인사레 예 다이나야 지 나츠 정마가 조 로미 데탱가 타달라 지 마춘 시진등 되나 베가 첨부는도
So you could say it's a little bit of both. As from a Buddhist perspective, of course, you would say that the notion of karma, that mainly what you experience is the result of something you've done previously in a previous life, for example. But then, of course, you can look at the current environment, and you can see how the environment definitely contributes to your general well-being, but still as a result of karma. So you could say, well, is the socio-economic situation mainly making us ill or making us causing us suffering? That's maybe not the main reason, but still, it is something that we need to take into account. So, of course, we see the progress, economic, socio-economic progress, but that also comes with a lot of, factories and machinery, and that comes with exhaust, and that is something that is not generally not good for the environment, not good for people. So far in the Netherlands it's been very nice. I've found that the air quite clean and not so much exhaust, not as in certain places in China where it is really the sky is often you can't see the sky due to the pollution, and it's also something that the pesticides and the pollution in food is also something that's a big worry for a lot of people. But this is, of course, so then the environment becomes, from sort of the more worldly perspective, it becomes a concern for us all. It's something that people need to study, and we need to realize the effects that are concern for business and progress, what they have, what kind of effect they have. And we see that, for example, regulations with regard to that in Europe and in America, they are a lot better than in other places. And we have less concerns about the food we eat and the air we breathe. But we see that these type of effects is becoming a problem of the world. But it's not everywhere as bad. So Europe, America, Australia, we don't see big problems, and elsewhere we see the results of pollution, and it's something that we need to take into account and we need to take care of. But I wouldn't say it's the main problem of our suffering or our illnesses.
Professor and translator, Doctor. I just have a question that will the desire for love, for intimacy, relationship or marriage become path to spirituality? Thank you.
Because it becomes an obstacle. Or does it? Or
does it?
Yeah.
다 실동 같은 뭐 쓰던 쓰이나 되니 직등 감스 직등 감드나 되는 소화 실고디 되니 그거 다 샤르로너 신거 뭐 쓰이나디 맞소 롤그 소화 시스템이요라 단 시스템도 요진도 되니 주 당에 여보스고 마송도 있네 추바스를 갈레스 추중해나
So you're talking about from like a Buddhist practitioner's point of view, or just more a general point of view? The page in English.
추바가 소 파치조지도 나치 제바데 가르세나 다소 추라 loktachirewa loktachi tane tariga ta chen sam samnon de ji tari drumna tondong mai ka samji tane mudrup ji da te parchin na chi chishure sam garesena tane oma ji gya no na sonyore chirezene na ta tsachum char sona laga re ta na to loktachi ne na tane ta chude yang ta pa drup ji yo mare se ta tane sonyore ta tende indi ngātsu chūshēnu wōgō tēne chī shirtāṅga yinā pēnā tārīga tā chī pēnā tā gīhñīṅga dōmbā yinā rāga tēne tā mōngbō yōrā, lakchā mōngbō yōrā tēsō tsāngmā tārī dhṛmnā yinā chārkīn chū chārkīn yāngbō rē sēm kārī tēne sēm tē sara chōng tōyā lā pē dōndak chīmbō yōrā rē tā yinā yāng tē tsāwa ngōmā tē kārī tō rē tēne tsō tā tēne 추대 머드에 말아 유긴조 교 때때 침보레 가때 때 마임 바거더니 배낭아수 지금 진등 그 쇼파데 소이나 다지 첨탄다는 첨단 담바된다 최톤나 배망게 여보레다 예나야 된다 가때 마텀나 따때나 지 배나 쇼하시야다는 된다 여러 저 배나 사도도야다는 된다 말아 쇼바시 된다 치어라 tene gyoshok chorwa, tene dukpangari inna tene tanda china chores. Tete indi soo da semga mara mandorin jitana, tene jin kyun rojin karchimbo yunga mandosam. Ta chuba inna, tene yang jamba tsu inna yang jamba gun rol kaka mambo yora, tene saru ko mando.
So I think, generally speaking, the biggest obstacle to practicing the Dharma is wrong views. because what wrong views do is they cause you not to practice, to leave things aside, neglect things. And this is also something that is said in Ayadeva's 400 verses. It says something like, it is very good to practice self-discipline or ethical discipline, but it is worse to, it's better to not have wrong views. Generally speaking, there's different levels of like vows you can take. You can take the upasaka vows, or lay people's vows, or monk vows, nun vows, whatever. And these, with that, you create contributing factors. They basically help you to protect yourself from doing the wrong things. But the most important thing here, the basis of one's practice should be not having the wrong views, because they cause you to do the wrong things and not do the right things. So you find, you hear of monks, ordained people who are very concerned with keeping their vows and self-discipline, moral discipline, but maybe are less concerned with maintaining the right type of views. So, in my view, then wrong views is the thing that we should be most concerned about, because this makes us do negative things. So this is from a Buddhist perspective. How this would translate into sort of worldly business, I'm not sure.
What is the Buddhist perspective on people who kill in war to protect themselves? For example, in the Second World War, people soldiers who were on the front, which is you see as close to the enemy that you can see the white in the eye of the enemy. And there's only one rule: it is you are killed or the other. So is there a kind of karmic mercy for all those soldiers who had to kill to survive?
You mean, as in, is it still killing or not, or is it still negative or not? That's basically the soldiers who are made to kill, who are forced to kill.
Yeah. If you stand in front of the enemy, you are dead or the other is dead.
Ta pe kanre na de pe na so chopa de ni ba chimbo yin re den de de la jimsun jamba zergona yang sun jikten ba wan de sheni na yang de shatur mombo zu yo na choko yo re re ta yang chuluko wan de sheni na tene paru ta sat samya ga samba tena tene yoro atona tene tatuk soki wambo te ngak jo jidana te jenda na to ta sosim dan tene yoro atona tatuk dana tene soko wambo ngak jo josum yoro tatuk se tenda zo changsong ne zong te kan tariang no te la ta de narman tene mambosu te chocho pi ni ba narman da to ngone yoke re tene te duba de yore tene de shirtong go ta rang zhong che te tene parolo la ji gorwa tang kanguk den de na shi chore re da yin yang ta rang zhong che te parolo sa dong gu bi ni ba yo ma re sang ne de na tena zalang chichin ni bi ka bin na ya jamba po chola tene ju ramen ra ta tene sa ze zo ra te zo yong na yin na ya koron te la chong kyu she ka ta mong bo yo re de sat ta chi do sat tong gu bi ni ba man do sam sa go ngi ba man so go ngi ba man du san den li kang ta ri am te ni ba de cho yo re san ni sa ka da yo 컴퓨터 잡나 공거 네 디스카 지금 차가 들어가서 잡나 그지 거 알아 너 그거 잡나 거래 나는 그렇게 잡아
so killing actually is always a very negative act, and whatever the reason for that, it's still negative. And we see that in the world, like from a worldly perspective, then certain type of taking life in some cases is not something illegal. So in wars, etc., then there's allowances that if it is to protect yourself or it's for a different purpose, then it's not something seen as punishable or bad. But from a Buddhist perspective, if you have the motivation to kill, if you then actually do the action of killing, you go about killing, and also the final act, the person actually dies, then that makes a complete sort of cycle of the action or the action of killing. So you can say, there are allowances when you say when it's out of self-defense, then it's different. But when the motivation is there to kill another, and you actually complete it, then in any case it is a negative act.
My name is Obi, and I'm wondering if there is another way to cleanse your karma instead of suffering.
Tate ngestina parshir nga tsukatsu teron zanlong mo mambo jiga teni le gewa cheni na teni dewa jongju ndo teni le ma gewa cheni na dungun jongju ndo parchia zikandi jimsund ko mare ta makoche so ta nga tsu flakso khori teni jimsund mambo za tuyora teni ta chongchong indigene teni send shi le jimre ga to flakso chi ya ga teni ga chu lobchong chi sa ta tenda yo mare teni ya chi nga chung khori ga rene de yang parchia de yang chu send shi le jimre yo sa ga teni khori me ban da mo cha teni na chu shirna send shi ga teni le ge tu ko de 탈라 똑바요 지도 다 파치아 로총 mambo즈 그 된자가 똑바 요거래 똑바 된자 이용보래 가르잖아 마총 추샤네나 당보 똑바 요래 근데 똑바데 저하고 근데 랑게 로랑시 상로당 근데 쪼바죠 근데 럼지 다리 달레나 레트근 제버 먹게 왔던 종 만나 먼종 그 강롱들 타초지가 근데 당케르 미시어 보지요래 tenja tang ngune chane huina nga la sanu tana tene ta le jimje da ngune yore sang yo te yo ji de yang renkar ke chula tapa depa samse mai ba ga ta ngune ge tene ti long da ripa ta tenjo tene chirondi tene tande yosare garezena pena ngachu momongbo yo na pama chuba ina pu ni yo na te pu ni ga ge che ngama ga tare 레데 tene ngumai na tare pamanika 그 지지 mombo즈 njaga yoreda yenaya punika ga ta dewa tan dungur yen njaga yo mare te manjaji ki jimsinde koronsu ganji ki kamna le yono tigre ma to zemana te maimba ta tene shagoni na ta kasu deran chanrik ba ina te shat ko yo mare tende ngason chulu ba ina na te sarozo tene shat ko yo re te shano te tanga sowa ga chote tene nyamnyo jilan shene na dra mane sanlo tane na pe racho yobo yong yore te na ngete na tari te koa lenje ta na tela jimji sheje da pe ka chimbore tani che trawa shistang de che yar yang ne trawa shi de te yabo rendo.
Okay. So first of all, about karma, then generally speaking, I mean, there is this notion that good actions bring about happiness and bad actions bring about suffering. This is something that a lot of people already sort of have an understanding of. They find this a reasonable thing, and this is something that we see, also from you see that studying brings about something, or certain actions in the environment bring about certain results. So we see that how that sort of works, but then with the action, or sort of the working of cause and effect, it is actually very good to. We hear a lot about karma, we hear a lot of stories, but it's actually very good to start with this sort of doubt, thinking, how does this work exactly? Because doubt leads to questions, and questions lead to investigating and discussing and thinking and understanding. And then to a certain point, at a certain point, you come to some kind of understanding or conclusion. And Campbell says, I personally, I really believe that the working of cause and effect, karma, exists. That it is really does work, and this is not out of faith. This is not for me not an assumption, because it is part of Buddhism, but it is on the basis of studying and making certain arguments, thinking about that. And you can see that the workings of karma also just more in the world. For example, if you have two children from the same parents, you see that their levels, who basically have the same environmental conditions, they have very different experiences. Some might be one might be happier than the other might have more misfortune than the other. So it is, if you look at how these things work, at one point you come to sort of an understanding that these things really function the way they are explained, and it becomes very clear for you. But this is something that is a process, and that is something that you sort of practice in doing, thinking about how karma, how the workings of law and effect, or the working of cause and effect, how it works exactly.
Tare shaka shikitela pena ta ngasong Beijing nangtang ge shaka shikito so nimbo toje ta tene tenji stobze tene pena dorji sengan dengi nam khagom니다 lama gumdang ge shaka shikite tene tare ta sunjimbi to mama rang dukba chiona dela pe njoba chapo chije tere tene sorchi pisto yana ta chinchong e tenri dukba zu chimagong samne tene tamja soje tere tene nimbo kondo shopisto zekido ta kanri zorgona tene pe na dorji senwa rang tene ndanji nam khala kumne tene ti shinlabla tene na rang duktrap pakchap soma to mar taksong samni Tendra ta to distant bevision, distant bevision. Tendra guntang yore. Ta tendra cheni na yang shihai na to rangi to pati sunda la gongre. Te mayen ba tene yar yang chi chan thombo ne yin na ni rang sem ji ne la sem go par ta ne tene tongba ni ji ngo la tene se chi de nyambar jang ne tene rang sem ji ngo zam bar shi. Tena yang tak nyala yang tak ta yang tak thong la number 2 yang ta bi ngo la yang ta bar ta ni na yang ta ba den thong di number 2 ju zi ta te di si chi gum yang ne yabo yo san ni na te ni shwa tin da yong re kan de tin da ma un na nyem bo sto ju ko ne shoba shen na pe yabo yo re.
But then it is this karma. It is also possible to purify this, and within our system in Tibetan Buddhism, there is sort of a way of purifying karma on the basis of the 4 forces or the 4 powers, which then starts with doing something positive. So that you could say, well, this is meditating on Vajrasattva, or reciting the mantra of Vajrasattva, purifying mantra, or visualizing your teacher. The second then is the power of remorse, so feeling regretful about what you've done. And the third is making the promise, basically saying, well, I've done something negative and I'm not going to do it again. And the last is the force of the antidote, which can be a number of things, but one would be to visualize Vajrasattva and then visualize the stream of nectar going down, being blessed by a stream of nectar, by which then you visualize that your negative karma is purified. So it's a way of practicing. So these are the 4 forces or 4 powers that you can employ to purify your karma. Alternatively, you can also focus in order to purify on the state of your mind, to meditate on the real nature of your mind, the true nature of your mind, by which you can become liberated, and by which this type of practice can you can also purify with. But again, then you also have the 4 powers. These are both ways to purify karma.
I have a question about mind dharma, or I think it's gongta. How does it work? Where is it stored, and how does it go from the past to the future?
Gongta de mamo music ko yang mane na nge tendra lantan tendra mar lamna yang te yang mamo ko roji mare.
Maybe for the people who have not heard of mind dharma, then maybe if I say something, then maybe you'll still not understand about mind dharma treasures.
Tai na yang gongter de karetende shina nga song khaso tenen gande ngorun boche ga ta terma pe mambo yora pe na renchen term so ta pe mambo yore tene pe yorna tene tertun jasta tertun yada jet samza ko tene pe mambo yore tene koranso te statue te one ta nga ji simjik sim nyongke ji simjik shi andina tene koran koji pe yore te maim baga ta termagol urjinde thakar drana nguni ji ko kabun yore yana so gongter ji de tene ta ngurun boche gtene perna tare chukan waji ta ta maon ne kamna tene mara ta titsud mo garson di mara nyam ro ra ta te manyim bi chet na to go tene semji sangwa te la tare ta mara je ta semji sangwa te la te to range o chi zgon re perna ngasu kanezera perna ta te chu mombo ngare to tene namki khamna be nyuje yore ngare to tene chono la pe range o yore tene ngare to tar chakno la tare re yore tene gongter ze chi to tene ta thiji sangwa nzo te la ka ningi ka gi sang in zo te la tene khanru density paga je tave nan teni tenda re para ba yo ra teni re ba yo re tenda yin teni ta ti testun te ti cho ngichin da thon di teni khorang ta datab na jam ra ra teni ta na teni ta thiki samjut ne teni ngama goror bo chi mulam ji top ne chestawa jand re yo pi testu te so yang tenem khanro ta chustyong ter dok tela supa ga teni da kurne teni ta tenda kurne na teni ramji ta teni ta dur yong ji mo yo re ngama pena tingkon chen ser bo chen ra ya na ram khambon jume phan so na khong na ba so na teni ta gong ter pe mo yo re teni pena goror bo chi ga ne chapar chan sa cha re thon song di teni ta te ngoni ji ting gi tsar na che teni 대추대 랑컬 거 통용이라는 데는 뭐 요래 배낭아이나 그뭐 뉴방가 자반 로건도 있더니 당에 다른 삼건에 있더니 공들 빼면 뭐지 이게 더 밥이 요래.
So these treasures, these are generally speaking left by Padmasambhava, by Guru Rinpoche, and so these are treasures left by him a long time ago, and then later on there are people who reveal these treasures. So these can be texts or other physical things, or of course meaning. And there have been at least 100 treasure revealers, people who reveal these treasures in the past, and this is a big topic of research. You can look at how this has happened in the past. Then you also have this mind treasure. So these treasures, you could say, stores on the continuum of a person by Padmasambhava. And in order for these particular teachings not to be lost. So the idea is that teachings, they degenerate and they grow lost, and then when the time is right, they can be revealed by the right type of person. So you have these sort of physical treasures, and these are found by treasure revealers from the sky or from a lake or from a rock. But then you also have the mind treasures that are then stored on the mental continuum of a disciple of Padmasambhava. And then when the time is right, and the time is sort of announced by there being all kinds of signs, then this sort of becomes revealed. So when there's sort of this can be triggered by other people or documents and other things that happen, or being at a specific holy place or like a pilgrimage place that is associated with Padmasambhava. And then these type of treasures can be revealed. So there's some, in modern times, also famous treasure revealers such as Devukyan Rinpoche and of course Jigme Khenpo Rinpoche, who have done traveling to specific places, started to, say, remember things or come up with things that have been stored in the past, and that's sort of how a lot of these cycles of treasure cycles have come about. This is a question that I was sure about. If karma works, can we get what we want by planting the seed of karma? Such as if we want to get rich, then it makes people rich first. Such as if we want to have a company, then we'll provide company to wrong people. And also we've heard that if you do good things, specific good things, in accordance with what you want, and you think about it good deeds, instead of forgetting about it, thinking about it, empathetic, and then the state of karma will grow crazily, and then you will get what you want this life, but not next life. You guys don't know if this is the tradition of the academy, because they are very young, but this must be a concern of many worldly people here, which is like that.
다 맞송 신나 레즈기데네 드네 넘버 몽보즈요레 드네 때 가르든 때 마카 몽보즈요레 랭가리드 드네 첸데드웨 통춤 용원저지 첸달라 드르네 드네 첸디스토아드네 다 랑거 좀바준나 조파곰나 드네 샤와칸 드르나요 목스르크 니바침보즈 첸디스토아 요메요지 된라요레 드네요 랭가리드 드네 첸데 드르네 쳄시마야 드네 제니 뇽저 드네 제니 드네 지마다리 뇽 제와 추마페나 참메피레 파사 파마사 팔라 소바시는 된라요레 드네요 랭가직 때네 다 지마 다리 체럽 몽보지네 뇽옹제 다 된제양 다리 랭가레 요레 베나 다 디솔로 야초 몽보 손네 드니 레테 넘버 용제 된라야 요레 드네요 랭가직 때다 님보 라만자 그 차송디 드니 아마 뇽 이바 있네나 지마 다리 뇽을 망이바 단 뇽이 이바 메바 된제양 랭가레 요레 그때인데 마추 가성되는 거 뭐뭐 보스 그 달레 짐지시 기도 인심이 그 체인들라 되네 무바 몽보요레 베나 가리가 짐바 동야도는 따페 체인들라 여러 식보조야도는 되네 조파 곰나야는 체인들라 지금 랑 지야보용아 되네 딘자다는 대진도는 지 잔라 로바시니 나지 랑게 침탑데 대조지 토모용아 딘자 산산레다 이나요 다 레지기도 베나 샹바가 되네마레 사원 시카 사원 살았다니나 때 동카마 도제면은 디주 동동스 그런 문도 요마레 되네 되네 땅아 수추가나 제네나 나마카스키 타스틸 릴라스토 시마카스키 타스틸 릴라스토제 까마칸자인 타타가 다리 리텔라 되나 코레 되네 시마칸자인 타가 타타가 정거 레스코 진델라 되나 코레 송요레 된다인디 지 그래서 뭐 제가 배나 사식수소네나 처마가 지금 레짐지기도 지 테마토데야 하면 영원 좀 차요래 또 상거요래다 따때 지금 직된 거 좀 저렇다 니모 사원 말한데나한테 그래서 라보 차요 말아 되는데 할란사자네 때 장바 요 말에서 오늘 장바 요래서 오늘 간래야 고만도 가슴 가리지는데 또 장바 몽보요래인데 가리지는 나는 장바 요 말에서 정말 타는데 간래 고만도 다 가서 장바 같으니 사원 거 빼전에는 레텔라 빼 고지요래.
So we talk about karma here, and then it's important to know that there's different types of karma, also in the way they ripen. So you have karma that you do in this life, and that it actually comes to fruition in this life, but you also have karma, the second type of karma, that only comes to fruition in the life after this life. And then the third type of karma is basically the karma that ripens in the life after the next life, or the lives after the next life, and you don't know when this is. It may be hundreds of years or hundreds of lifespans. And then it is also not necessarily that you will be able to actually experience the result of the karma you do. You know, that you might do something in the meantime that destroys that. When you speak of karma that you experience in this life, then we often that you can experience in this life, and we often think of generosity, and that is something that you will get back, or being patient. That's an attractive quality. So this is something that you can experience in this life. But it is something that, and also like when we help other people, that we get good company and help back. But it is something that generally is not experienced straight away. When you think of it in terms of, planting a seed, then when you plant a seed, still you have to wait for harvest time. And from a Dharma perspective, what we say is, if you want to know what kind of karma you've done in the past, look at your present circumstances. If you want to know what you will become in the future, look at what you do now, your current actions. So this is something, and you see a lot of people in the East have this idea of karma, that actually they want the direct experience, the results of karma, that you do something and you want to see the results of it. But it doesn't work like this. So you plant something as a farmer, and you then have to wait for it to grow, and only then you can harvest it. And actually, I don't know whether you get this simile, because in the Netherlands I've seen a lot of meadows and plains, but actually no farms so far. So I wonder whether there are farmers at all. But it is, you can think of it as planting a seed.
Can you repeat the last sentence? Planting the seed.
You can think of it as planting a seed. Planting a seed. Yeah.
You can?
Yes.
Doing an action.
Yeah.
Doing an action is planting.
The last question?
Yes, please. There's the book Always Present by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, the founder of Lagon Garden. And in that book, there's a motto. Khenpo Sodaji has translated that book. He has written it and made it available in English. And there's a motto, and it says the following right here: do not lose your own fun, do not disturb others' minds. So this motto, I know it's from Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok, and I'm interested to know how this came about, why this is a motto, what is its meaning, and why is it important?
당아서 근데 감원중에 분석을 솜마 참아가 때에 같이면보다 저거 요래 가리제나 콩그 다 솜마용로 송시 참아거더니 다 치타마 친직마가 다리 그 측대 차요래 가리세는 콩르 다 근데 공바 마존에 파치르니마 르가트 여면서 그건도 근데 이 공바 조디 된데나 잔업 천도가 많강나노 많강나는 공바 조래 옛날에 드니야르 가르로 드니 카버 틀리판 티노나 드니 로마초라 드니 송시 타마즈 조요래 드니 송시 타마는 주르돔데라 콩그 다 랑츠 마셔 랑그 츠티 셔만조 드니 장그 셈데 마츠 때 송요래 that rangi rang pena rang chuba zin chuba tsugyo chuba tsugda mashur tani rang pena tani shawa kang rang ke zin rang de la rang lam zyo rangi lam pena nga popa zin popa ga rang tsugda mashur tani nga gergin skin gergin de la yang rang chig yo de rang chig de ma shur de na nga su sang lo tong na te pe to mong bo de la re chok yo re sang do tani ma kang sha kang da kang na rang ko chig me chur de pe ka chim bo re sang ga to chi re tani chig ni ba de tani 다 장기 셈마트 마수샤와 카운드르네 나트니 야르 공마라 야르 기크르 조시와도나 tani ramnyam solaya paratun shiwado tani gongma solaya ya ji shankyong shiwa denrai soni na tani jambasagi ya semchug yomara tanga song kaso deran zambolong tani ta menchug zoya ta na tani chesane tani jarkapa ne ya 다 nyukta mombo zoyi ta danchig zore tani chongsane tariga zama pansa pardana tani tari menchug mombo zoyore tani zame zoni ta menchug mombo zoyora 다 대안의 장가 생축을 했더니 맞수때 장세 마스지도 총산의 ringi 첨 상다나 일금 받다. 되니 제산에 잠올은 거 무세와나 양 다른 여러 체내는 전 배나 던조 그런데 소이나요. 샤총 시고도와 다 된자인데 다 공그 송시 소마가는 게 타마데래. 되니 가 소이나 되니 배나가 라롱 가네 있네나 소 공그 측송조 때 랑츠마쇼 장세 마스지도 때 ngaronsu pena chetande latin lobching ganana the goyang de purchase lobtra the flashia zone de josara goyang ge zong de ba je goyang chi jo de lobtra gana ji zuwan jo ge de ngaronsu pena garne na de kamojung ba zo gomba zo son de tene tanga su boba zinge da chuba zinge ga rang sik shor mni tene ngaronsu ya ji jamba chola dari sem ma chi na phamba ju ge de yin ze da自己是三的等等的所都这个有的，但到空个的松西从那个他妈的嘞，等的就搞全部就是对了，国际网不是，等你去学会国际网不是有的，等你就等学会呢，人可个给人那这个罗马人那这个谁那让了每一次的马学的，想把那也把东西给呢，没有不是用的给的上就的上次有。
So this phrase or this motto is very important for us as followers, as students of Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, and it's for us all important. The reason why it is so significant is that this basically came out of the last thing that Khenpo Jigme Phuntsho communicated with his disciples, his followers, before he passed away. He passed away in a military hospital in Chengdu in China, but 5-6 days before his passing, he had a telephone call with people at Larungar, and this is basically the summary of what he said. This is one of the last things that he said. Don't lose your, well, it's translated as lose your own path. It can mean actually many different things, and don't disturb the minds of others. So your own path, it could mean your practice, your Dharma practice. It can also mean, like, if you are Tibetan, then don't lose your Tibetanness. So, and you could even take that as, if you are a teacher, don't lose your identity as a teacher, be a teacher, basically. So it has some reflection on the sort of notions of identity. And then for, don't disturb the mind of others, then you can take this again on many different levels. Most basically that you don't disturb others, but also knowing that that the way, thinking about the way you treat other people, that you treat other people above you with respect, that you treat people on the same level with kindness, and people who are in a less profitable situation than you, with compassion, and that you, and then again levels, you can think of nation states. I mean, the wars are because other people's mind, people are disturbed. Are caused by all these disturbances on smaller levels, family levels. Then one is not to disturb the minds of others that come between couples and so on. And then even you can think about it for yourself in your direct relationships, but also how people in the world should behave, but even the way we treat animals, for example, that we treat them right, that we don't disturb them. So the significance of this thing, if that is the last thing that Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche says, and that is why it has become so important in Ladungar itself. And just as a lot of institutions and schools, universities, they have a university motto or school motto, something that students there can take and think about, and something that is significant. So this has become do not lose your own path and do not disturb other people's minds. This has become our motto, the motto of Ladungar, basically keeping one's own identity as whatever you are, and trying, so not harming others, trying to help others where you can. And the nice thing about this sort of last speech by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsho is that you can take it in a sort of from a religious point of view, from a worldly point of view, and just in any type of way.
I was wondering, because you mentioned in the foreword that there was only a few teachings remaining, and that it's a collection of teaching. I was just wondering how you went about it and how you collected these things and how you made the choices for the chapters that eventually became this book.
근데 실동 근데 송추도 몽보 요래. 요래다 옛날 아마 근데 뭐는 뭐 제가 샤르담 때 송디데 드니 콩그 드니 송쉿 드니 다 우고르데 몽보 요래. 때 세드는 게 당연히 용시즈 드니 콩그 소마솔라다 다끌그 드니 과교인 난자가 샤르담인 난자가 대진도 라샤인 난자가 된다서 요래. 실동거 콩그 송쉿데 몽보 요래. 옛날에 띠나네 다 용시즈 드니 발제 지로마 소위나 타걸 그 질라 판바요 바거는데 가리 요래. 다른 몸보 요래다. 옛날에 다 띠나는 콩그치 가준 시야대 몸보 요래. 합시야대 몸보 요래. 당연히나 지 발제 가준 시상 가리 요네나 때 로마서 판바요 지레 삼고요. 당선 말은 좀 무슨나 랑기촌데 뭐이 호상가요 말에. 콩을 감보상이나 아마 근데 로마가 타걸 거는 지금 담은적 사다는 데는 야보 마인 봐. 된다 소리나 때니 나 무슨 보여나 때니 다 아티샤 때니 다 공기나 로마서는 배 잘담이나 타걸 거 손지 소리요래. 때니 가르세니 나도 갑전시 노도 라마건 초인데 좀 상토가 그렇게도 담가건 초인세지요래. 다 된다서 스타워는 그 송가리도 된다 요나 여보라고 삼는데는 이 뎁당모도 된다 쇼주시는 근데 뎁 잠만가리 요래단다 다로야 디소크도 저 코마소.
So these maybe shall I hold up the book we know what we're talking about. So what is in this book? They're basically short. The idea is that these are all sort of short instructions, advice, things like that, and also criticism. And the idea is for the disciples, the students of Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, that it is something that you can sort of directly hits home. And I call it their criticism, and he was actually always keen to point out the things that were not being done all right, things that were going wrong. He was keen to point out, criticize others, and as we say, and this is something that we, for example, see with other masters, Buddhist masters coming to Tibet. For example, Atisha, when he, what we have from his teachings is that he was actually, the way he taught, he was directly addressed the disciples, his followers, and also interacted with what they were not doing right. So basically these are short, I selected, of course there's many more of these short instructions, criticisms, but we say the criticism is the best teacher. Sometimes you can, especially when it comes from your own master or your own lama, then it's something that you will immediately take to heart. This is the reason why, and also these are short. It's something we can all easily sort of digest. But there's many more, and I've just chosen. So I had to make a choice, a selection.
So, first of all, I'd like to, on behalf of us all, thank Khenpo for his willingness to meet with us. So thank you very, very much. I would like to express once again all of our thanks, and we should express our thanks to Dr. Jansen for willingness to jump in and translate. Thank you.